I'm building a 2-trailer tiny house. It's time for a build update. And this one's going to be cool because for the first time we have a fully mobile 2-trailer tiny house that's actually enclosed, and I'm pretty excited to show you this. This is a really exciting part of the build because for the first time we actually have this 2-trailer tiny house fully enclosed. What I like about this space the most is this space is effectively free space. This doesn't exist in either of the trailers. It's formed with the swinging wall, sliding roof and the floor that goes between it. Down below there is the drawbar to the trailer. This is the space between the two trailers that forms part of the house. On either side we have these swinging walls. I've framed out the wall with these timber stud frames inside the steel structure for the wall. I've done that because it's lighter than using all steel, and while steel stud frames would have been lighter, there was too many ins and outs. I had to cut these frames in, and so timber was the most appropriate to use. I've then done a cross brace here to brace out that corner. You know that I've only used one cross brace, and that's because all of the weight's going to be hanging down on this wall out from this post here. So this is just to be able to tune up that wall to make sure it's nice and square, and those locking pins are going to lock into the wall. On the other side here, we've got the timber stud frame also, but it's a little bit different. I've done this long, narrow window at eye height. One of the things I've done is to place windows in the house so no matter where you are, or if you're moving through the house, you can see out of a window. I've done that so that the house feels larger than what it is and doesn't make you feel like you're trapped inside of a box. But also by placing windows like that, like this window is much smaller, instead of using big, large windows to make the space feel expansive, I've used windows that are in eyesight, so it draws your eye outside, making the house look bigger. And that's the purpose of this one. So having this narrow window here means I still get privacy because I have the bedroom door and the bathroom door here, but I can see outside when I'm walking to the bedroom or walking back towards into the main living area. Also, the reason I've put the window like this here is it's not in my eye line when I'm working on the study. So the study is going to be in here, and good feng shui actually says not to look outside of a window when you're working. So having a window in a study area creates visual distraction, and to be the most focused and most productive, it's best to have less visual stimulant. But because I'll be sitting in here in the study, I can stand up and instantly see outside and look out the front of my house and anyone who's approaching the house. You'll notice this area below the window that isn't framed out and it's got a steel structure. And that's because I'm gonna try and put in an electronic lifting desk in here. I was gonna try and keep this one as a surprise, but it's gonna be pretty obvious, you're gonna see it. So I'm going to put rails down either side of the structure and an actuator that will lift a frame up and down, and the desk is going to hook into that frame through some lines in my lining, and it'll allow it to move up and down so I can have a sit-stand desk, an electronically controlled sit-stand desk inside my study. But it also means I can unhook it off of the wall when I transport. On top of the walls is this sliding roof. Now this thing was an engineering feat. What you see here, there's actually 2 layers of foam board, 2 layers of battens, and then a ply board on top of it. What was really important with this roof is that I can get as much thermal performance out of it as possible because it's going to be a flat roof, it's going to be a dark roof, have no fall, no air cavity. I've constructed the sliding roof by creating this metal dolly here that supports the structure of the roof. I've got these heavy duty rollers here that allow it to glide seamlessly over the top of the sliding walls. On top of that, I've put a roof batten that supports the roof. And those battens go across the dolly all the way up. I then have these smaller battens on top of my roofing battens that are propped up incrementally using wooden packers, and that creates a slight slope down towards the back of the house to drain away the moisture. I've packed up the ends here ready for the flashings that I'm going to make. The flashings are going to come over, down inside here, then back up and over. This will slide up inside of the flashing that's going to be on the main trailer. There'll be a seal along here that stops moisture coming inside. For any moisture that does get past that seal, there'll be a channel here so that the moisture can be directed off to the sides of the house. And then finally there'll be 2 brush strips along here to stop any remaining moisture or wind getting past that and inside the house. At the other end here, this part will be inside the side trailer. There's some brush strips along here to stop any air and moisture pushing up underneath the roof of the side trailer. And then there'll be a flashing here that creates a hard barrier to stop anything coming past, and will direct it back out or back down to the sides and safely away from the inside of the house. Insulating this thing is a real challenge. I'm going to have a dark, large sheet metal pan here, which is going to create problems with condensation and thermal transfer. I also don't have much space here to work with to put in insulation and air cavities to allow for condensation. First of all, the problem of condensation, because I have a large sheet metal pan here, when it's cold on the outside, that sheet metal pan will be cold. The warm air on the inside will come up against that sheet metal pan and then condense into moisture. Now, normally we'd have a membrane here that allows that moisture to condense and run off, but this is almost flat and I don't have enough space to put a cavity. Instead, what I'm going to do is to remove the body of air that's up against the bottom of that sheet metal pan. So first of all, we have this layer of plywood here, which is actually needed to support the sheet metal pan, but also creates a thermal break from the rest of the house. Directly below that is foil board. And this foil board stops the body of air coming up to the base of that. So between the sheet metal pan, we're going to have a layer of plywood and then a layer of foil board. The plywood also helps thermally break the sheet metal pan from our first layer of battens. Our first layer of battens are then thermally broken from the second layer of battens by using these timber packers, which also create my slope. I then have a second layer of foil board here that has an air cavity. And that air cavity allows the foil board to reflect radiant heat back up towards the roof of the house. Also in winter, it'll reflect the heat back down inside the house so it keeps it warm. Also, this body of air is going to be isolated, so it'll be sealed up, which means this here can't get moist and warm and create condensation. Also stops blending with the air below so that I can create some better insulation. Below that, I've then allowed enough space for a 70mm fiberglass bat, which will be my final layer of insulation. Hopefully, that's going to be enough insulation to stop the heat that's going to be generated by that sheet metal pan getting down inside my house. Importantly, in winter, the hot air that I want to keep on the inside from escaping up through the roof. Also, the seals that I'm going to run here to try and seal up this roof up against the two trailers are going to be as airtight as possible. And that's the purpose of these two brush strips here, to stop the hot air that's on the inside that will be rising, coming up, pushing out through my seals and just losing it all outside. This design has changed a bit since I did the video of building this sliding roof. I've actually taken the slope out of this roof. And the reason for that is it gave me this step down along here. I need to put a flashing on the edge of this that comes out down over the top of my wall cladding, and having a step down in this became a problem. So it means this roof is going to be perfectly flat. Now that creates a problem because I have a large flat area where water won't drain away very easily. And that creates two issues. The first is the area of my roof is too big to get a single piece of sheet metal to cover it, which means I have to have a join. Now the problem with that is I'm going to have moisture, I'm going to have water sitting on there, and it'll only take a small defect in that join to get a capillary action, start sucking moisture in underneath to that plywood, which creates some pretty serious problems for me. So some way I need to stop moisture getting in through that join. The second is, because I've got a large flat area with moisture sitting on it, as wind comes across there, it can push the water into my seals, making it even harder to try and seal up that sliding roof against the side and main trailer. So the solution I've come up with is to get custom flashings bent up to create standing seam joints across my roof. Standing seam joint is where one piece of sheet metal is bent up and the other piece is bent up and over the top of it. I've actually prototyped one out of some steel I had. You can see here, first sheet metal comes up underneath here and folds up in a right angle. Then the sheet metal on this side comes up, over and folds over the top of that right angle. I can then fill that with polyurethane sealant. So then if I get moisture sitting in these pans, the moisture can't easily get up inside that joint. That'll have polyurethane sealed up inside there, and it's a vertical joint, so the moisture will have to travel up and then back down to get through to my substrate underneath. Also, because the rib isn't very high, it allows that to still slide underneath my seal that's going to be on my side trailer. The second benefit to having these ribs is it reduces the fetch that the wind has to push that moisture. So by putting ribs at consistent spacings across the top of that flat roof, as the wind pushes across, it can't push the water over a long distance. This last pan right up against my seal will only be a small pan of water that's being pushed by the wind, so I'm getting a lot less moisture being pushed against that seal, and the wind has less effect as it's pushing into that seal. It still has some, and it's not as good as draining that water away with a slope, but I can't get slope in that roof. I don't have the height, and it makes the side flashings where they come down over the top of the walls really difficult to do and to seal up and make sure that's going to work seamlessly. Really cool to see this thing in action. You can see it slides out over the top of those side walls, in between the lining on the outside, where it goes over and meets the end of the main trailer. I haven't done the beam that goes over the top of this sliding roof yet. I have worked out how the beam's going to work and how the flashing is going to come down and seal up against this sliding roof so I don't get any weather pushing in underneath into the roof of this side trailer. I haven't done that yet because when I've got that beam in, I can't lift this roof out with the trailers joined. So I'm going to leave that for now and come back and do that in conjunction with my cladding once I've done the lining on top of my sliding roof. We can see the cavity inside the side trailer here where the sliding roof retracts into when I'm transporting. It was a fair challenge to make this thing fit inside the roof because when it comes back, it's a pretty snug fit. It just fits inside the roof and that is pretty close to the height that I'm going to have. So there's going to be a sheet metal pan on top of that roof, so it won't be very high. And it just fits inside the roof for transporting, which is spectacular because I'm so glad this thing has worked out. Down on the floor, I have my floor panels in place, but I haven't laid my floor yet. Main reason for this is these things have been coming in and out constantly as I'm working on the swinging walls and the sliding roof. Now that the joint is mostly done, and these won't have to come out too much, I'll be able to lay the floor on top of them and finish them up against the floors and the two trailers here. So I'll be able to show you a little bit more detail how the floor is going to seal up between the two trailers. On the outside of the walls, I've welded up the structure around the outside that's going to support the flashings. It allows this to join up seamlessly, covered it in foam cell and battened it out, which I'll explain in a later video. Now you can start to get a sense how I'm overlapping the doors so that when they have flashings on them, they're going to seal up. Be almost impossible for weather to get in there. On this part of the wall, there'll be a flashing that comes down around here and inside of this outer lip, and then there'll be seals that run vertically down inside here. On the swinging wall, the cladding's going to come up to here and then to a flashing where it drops down, bends back in and comes across here. So this here will fold in and meet up against here, compressing those seals. On the opposite end of the wall where it meets the side trailer, we'll have a similar thing where the cladding will come up to here and then a flashing will fold over and come down inside the wall here, and then there'll be seals running along here. The swinging wall then have cladding that comes up to this lip here and then a flashing that folds down inside here and comes across into here. And this is the face it's going to press in against that receiving wall and then compress those seals. So we can see as it swings around, meets this side trailer, and seals up. There will then be a corner flashing on this side trailer. This is an offcut from the micro tiny house that comes out and will hit up against that swinging wall, hiding the joint, making it virtually invisible. So that's the joint of the two trailers. It's so good to see this now semi-functional and actually enclosed. I'm starting to get a sense that this is actually possible. I know we've been on this journey for a while. We're kind of like, yeah, we're going to do a two-trailer tiny house, but I've had no idea, if I'm honest, if I can actually pull this off. And now, as I've had to work out the roof, I had to put a lot of thought into how the flashings and seals are going to work so that when I get rain coming down on top, sideways moisture, wind and rain, that it's going to be somewhat weatherproof. And I'm starting to believe that's actually possible, which is it's so good. Like it feels nice to know this might actually be able to happen. But we're not out of danger zone yet. We're getting closer, but the detail is in how those flashings and those seals are going to work so that as it's getting hit from the outside, all of that wind and moisture is being deflected or running down on the outside of the building and not coming inside. So there's still quite a bit of detail to get right yet. So we'll see how we go with that. The next steps of the house is to finish wrapping it up and making it weatherproof. You'll see the insulation in the roof of the main trailer already. I've started working on the roof. I can't actually finish that roof yet because I can't work out where the spouts for the box gutter are gonna go. I need to do that in conjunction with my wall cladding. So I'm just gonna put the box gutter in, a temporary spout, and then run the foil down into that and come back to that later. Once I've got it wrapped up, I can turn my mind to making the windows. I'm going to build my own windows for the house, which I'm pretty excited about. There's quite a bit of detail that goes into that. And that's a prerequisite to actually turning my mind to the cladding on the outside of the house, which I can't wait for because it's going to look awesome, and it's going to make this thing start to look like a real house, and I can't wait to show you that. As always, you know the drill. Don't hate, educate, comment down below if you see something in this video that could be improved. And in the meantime, go build cool stuff. I've got work to do, and I'll see you soon.